This is a disaster. They've lost their planting season. It's already nearing the end of June. Forget it. Farmers have been destroyed this year. Torrential rain of biblical proportions is causing immense devastation for Midwest farmers. This is on Tyler Durden Zero Hedge, authored by Michael Snyder via the End of the American Dream blog. The wettest 12 months in all of U.S. history, followed by the second wettest May on record, and for some parts of the Midwest, the month of June will be even worse. Some portions of Ohio and Indiana have gotten 10 more inches of rain since Friday, and more rain is literally falling on the Midwest as I write this article, he says, when I describe what we have witnessed as torrential rain of biblical proportions. I'm not exaggerating even a little bit. Even before we got to the month of June, farmers in the middle of the country were already dealing with a disaster unlike anything that they have ever experienced before. And just when everyone thought that it could not possibly get any worse, it did. Since Friday, the rainfall totals in the Ohio Valley have been staggering. As much as 10 inches of rain has fallen in the Ohio Valley since Friday, causing flooding, necessitating water rescues, and creating a mudslide near Lexington, Kentucky. Parts of southern Indiana have seen 10 inches of rain, while up to half a foot fell in parts of Ohio. Other parts of Kentucky have reported 5 inches of rain. And more rain is coming for the whole of the rest of the next week. And that is exceptionally bad. It's bad news for Midwest farmers. At this point, millions of acres that farmers had intended to plant with corn will go completely unused. And according to Washington Post article that was republished by MSN, corn futures are surging because traders are anticipating an impending shortage of corn. Ohio trailed behind with 68% of its corn planted. South Dakota had 78%, Michigan and Indiana each had 84% of their hoped for acres planted. Last week, the USDA lowered the projected total yield to 13.68 billion bushels. Last year's corn yield was 14.3 billion bushels. And as of Monday, in anticipation of an impending shortage, corn futures continue to trade at their highest level since June of 2014. I know that the USDA is projecting that somehow we will get to 13.68 billion barrels of corn, but a lot of experts are convinced that the USDA's reduced projection is still widely optimistic. In some parts of the heartland, it literally looks like a hurricane just came through. When Ohio Department of Agriculture Director Dorothy Palenda recently toured farms in her state, she saw fields that were filled with water and weeds instead of crops. She said, I visited with several farmers this week and saw firsthand the impact of this devastating rainfall. Fields are visibly filled with water and weeds instead of crops. End quote. State's Ohio Department of Agriculture Director Dorothy Palanda in the press release. And for Ohio farmer Charles Kettering, hundreds of acres that he recently planted with corn and soybeans cannot be seen at all because they are currently underwater. As much as a third of the 800 acres of corn and soybeans that Kettering planted a few weeks ago is currently underwater. The chances of that part of his crop surviving are next to nothing. As little as a full day underwater is enough to kill off whatever he planted. The deluge of heavy rain in late May and early June flooded much of the area's fertile farmland, including Kettering's acreage, which sits in the bottom of a valley. As a result of the flooding here in June, the Ketterings will lose approximately $100,000. You can imagine how you would feel if you were suddenly hit with a financial loss of that magnitude. Other farmers will be hit with huge losses at the end of the season when yields are way down. Thanks to absolutely horrific weather, it's being projected that yields could be down by more than 50% for some Ohio farmers. For those planting corn in June, yield losses are likely even if the grower has switched to a shorter season variety, said Peter Thomason, a cornfield specialist with CFAES. The losses hinge on growing conditions after planting, but they could be more than 50% for some farmers, he said. And in the end, there is no way that we're going to come anywhere close to the 14.3 billion bushels of corn that was harvested in the US last year. That's going to have ripple effects that are going to last for a very long time. For many Midwest farmers, this will be their last year in operation. Farm bankruptcies had already risen to the highest level since the last recession, even before all of this rain, and this unprecedented disaster will be the final nail in the coffin for a lot of farmers that have been teetering on the brink. According to one recent survey, it's expected that a number of farm loans defaults over the next year will be double what we saw in 2017. I keep warning that our planet is becoming increasingly unstable and that the global weather patterns are changing dramatically. Midwestern farmers are desperately hoping for some drier weather, but instead a lot more rain is coming. The bankers are tightening their purse strings on farm credit lines amid some of the toughest financial times for farmers in decades. A survey of bank CEOs by Creighton University's Hydra College of Business found they expect the percentage of farm loan defaults over the next 12 months in a number of Midwestern states, including Illinois, to be double the default rates for 2017. Rain is in the forecast every day this week until Friday, and then we have a break over the weekend with more rain coming Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. The true scope of this crisis will not be fully known until harvest time rolls around, but right now the outlook for U.S. agricultural production in 2017 is exceedingly grim. Perhaps things will soon dry out and we will have picture-perfect weather for the rest of the growing season. If that happens, it will definitely help matters greatly. But there is also the possibility that Midwest farmers could be hammered by extreme rain, extreme heat, and/or early frost. Sadly, at this point, it certainly will not take very much to turn an exceedingly bad growing season into a catastrophic one. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.